morning, Prime Minister Malcolm with Canadian Press. You told Canadians that you would be elbows up, and they appear to have largely given you a mandate to get a good deal from the president. But thus far, we have not seen that Canada has gotten basically nothing. And Canada also had to give one of its bargaining chips when it comes to the digital services tax, something other countries like the UK did not give up in their deal with the US. How do you still convince Canadians that you are really elbows up?
Well, look, we are in the midst of long now and tough negotiations with the United States. And we're working for the best deal for Canada. We have put in place a series of retaliatory measures, including in the steel sector. We have secured tariff-free access for a number of Canadian goods. In fact, the percentages are very high in terms of outside of the most affected sectors, steel being one of them, autos, aluminum, forest products. The vast majority of Canadian goods and services are tariff-free. That is not the case for most other countries. We will continue to work constructively for a deal, but it has to be a deal that works for Canadians and Canadian workers. And part of the reason why we don't have a deal is that deal is not yet on the table.
Next question. Samantha Beattie from CBC News. Is a trade deal with the U.S. likely to include some level of tariffs? And if so, will Canada impose tariffs on the U.S. as well?
Well, we'll see what the final agreement is. If there is an agreement, we're working towards an agreement in a constructive manner. And obviously, it's an agreement. There are both sides, and things will be structured accordingly. I think what's important, if I can bring it back to the situation here in the steel sector, is that the U.S. trade deals with other countries, and also the case when the U.S. doesn't have a trade deal with other countries, are going to involve very high tariffs. And one of the consequences of those very high tariffs is it pushes product, steel in this case, and their derivatives, into a Canadian market that has historically been quite open. So it's important that we protect our market from those secondary effects, if you will, from the U.S. Negotiations.
But is Canada willing to impose tariffs? Is that something on the table?
Well, Canada has imposed tariffs.
What more?
Well, on verra. We'll see. I mean, look, it's a negotiation. We want to. We believe in. We believe in free trade. We believe that the best arrangements would be low tariffs. It's proven. You look at the Walters Group and the amazing work they do south of the border for some of the iconic buildings and in the United States. There actually isn't time to list them all, but many of which I know. And that's good for the U.S., it's good for Canada. Now, the U.S. has different priorities and has had different emphasis, and we have to adjust to that. I see.
Hi, Prime Minister. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail.
Yeah.
BC Premier David Eby says that Canada has been talking to the provinces about a softwood lumber deal with the U.S. that could remove this irritant from the table. He said this could include quotas for how much wood is shipped from Canada. Do you see a potential to strike a softwood deal and settle this matter for the time being, and what role would quotas play?
Well, thanks for the question. We're in close contact. I'm in close contact with Premier Eby on this and many other issues, but this is one of the biggest. Without question. There is decades and decades of trade history, as you know, with respect to softwood lumber, U.S. trade actions there. There is normally some element of managed trade that comes out of any agreement that comes there. Can include quotas, can include a variety of trade factors, if I can put it that way. So that is a top priority. And we would like to resolve it at the same time as other trade issues with the United States. It is running on a slightly different timetable. Their timetable is different. It's a historic 232 action, if you probably know. And we'd like to bring it together and have it as part of a global agreement if we can, and that's certainly been the position of the Government of Canada. Thank you.